Greetings once again, folks. I am still playing around with this minifigure, and I'll probably change a few things with it. Just because I don't know if I'm going to be super happy with it. But I am curious. Let's see. I let the paint dry a little bit. But I think what I'd like to do is change the mouth just a little bit too. I think that looks funny. Looks like has one snaggle tooth. What I'm going to try to do is make it so that mouth is kind of open. I know that's a bit of a task, I suppose, but let's see what we can do here. Okay. Now, I don't always like to go on the internet to research things. It's not really my thing to do. Not just because I'm an old man or whatever, it's just I don't really want to have my artsy stuff influenced by other people's really cool ideas all the time. So if I were craftier, I would have come up with a way to do this without suffering as much, because this is really the first time that I've done a custom Lego figure. I think I might like that a little bit better, I think. Now, I'm using one of these Artist Loft 0.03 pens. It's not the finest, but it's pretty fine for what I do. As I said in the last video, I probably should have scored or etched the plastic just a little bit. Most of the time, permanent marker kind of does what it needs to do reasonably. I don't think there's really much else I'm going to do with that face, to be honest with you. Now, this is going to be a concern to me. So last time I used silver marker to see if it would lighten up the body of this, because I didn't have like a purple bodied Lego figure around that I could just swap the body with and then, like, you know, do that kind of stuff with. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. Actually, let's put the head on something. Actually, we don't need to do that right now. We'll just let that sit there for a little bit. I do have some purple paint, and we're going to see how this stuff looks on both the silver and the white. Now, let's see what happens. It's better coverage with this, initially anyway, which means it probably would take a couple of coats. It'd be kind of nice to put lapels on it, I suppose, and maybe we'll put on a flower or something like that. The Joker is rather dapper. So of course that has potential to cover it reasonably well. I think the silver might have worked out reasonably. We can add details with the black marker. And as I say, it'll be a couple of coats. So these were initially different characters that I'm turning into a custom Joker figure. So it shouldn't be anything that anyone's going to miss. I got them at like a dollar store. They're Lego activity books. So nothing too outrageous. For some reason, it's been kind of difficult to just find an activity book with just the Joker. I know they existed. These things kind of get traded out every so often or bought out and then not really replaced because they like to retire stuff in the Lego world. So you only get access to certain things for a little while. We'll do the underarms of this after. I don't know if the front will be dry enough to handle yet. Oh, I know people that do the Warhammer painting stuff, so I bet you they'd be pretty good at customizing Lego minifigures. I have not worked on those. Okay. It's looking kind of Joker-like. For display purposes, anyway. I don't know if we give them purple shoes or black shoes, or I don't know where I'm at with that yet in my head. But we'll try to figure out some of the fine detail stuff after. But this is the fun stuff. Now it's funny, when you see the back end of one of these minifigures and you see these giant holes, they kind of allow you to mount them differently to different things. Like there are vehicles that you can get them to sit in and they won't pop out, which I think is a pretty neat thing. Or you can actually display them kind of vertically, depending on what you're using to display. So we're going to let that dry just for a moment. Then we're going to go to the hair, and we're going to touch that up a little bit. And hopefully that will have given just enough time to do a second coat on that. Now, actually, let's get something else for me to hold on to that a little bit easier. We'll add another length of that. Maybe that, just to hold on to. Oop, I was about to go purple. Now I may, when it's done, go back over some of it with some other colors. Let's say like black or what have you, and that way you can do highlights. And some lowlights too. But much like the body, I actually started with silver as a base. And I think that wasn't the worst thing to do. So I'm just working out of a little tube of acrylic. Nothing too serious. Now earlier, although it was a video from over the weekend, I just uploaded part 1 of this. And today is the 20th, which is Lex's birthday. So happy birthday, Lex. And this is part 2. Part 2. I think that's probably enough for this. I think I got decent enough coverage on that helmet of hair. Stylish. Now, let's see if we can get some more purple done. And maybe we'll do a little doodle. I do like this brush. I do have finer brushes, which I can show you in a minute or so. But like, yeah, I like this one. And I know that you probably will see me use it more than twice. That purple isn't that bad. And if I can try to keep it light enough that when I get in there to do some of the detail stuff with the marker, I can still see whatever details are there. This is really just a display thing as well, but I'll try to make it so that the joints are free, because last thing you need is the great disappointment of not being able to display it the way you want. I'm going to put the Joker's head on something that shouldn't roll away as easy. Change the tilt of this just a little bit. Yeah. Okay, we'll get back to work. Now, a few times I'm sure you've heard me say that I don't always have a great appreciation for the Joker. The Joker doesn't really always think outside of Gotham, whereas some of the other characters that Batman deals with are very much big picture. And maybe it's because, you know, the Joker doesn't want to step on some people's toes. Although I've seen in comics that he's quite happy to stir things up. Now, because we've chosen the silver under coat, I guess, it can give that sort of texture of it being material, so that's not a bad thing. Sometimes things look not so great, and you just have to kind of work at them a little bit. And I'm not afraid to work at it a little bit, so we'll see what happens. We'll deal with the underarms after. I think we may go with black shoes too. Although I don't know if the Joker would coordinate. Most of the time I think the character would. And why not? I will admit my fear at first using the silver Sharpie to start was I didn't really want it to look too brown, which sometimes that can happen. And it wasn't until a little bit after starting this little fun project that I found a white paint Sharpie. I mean, it takes a little while for those things to dry, but even that would have worked as well. I don't really like it very much. I don't even know if it would still, I didn't even test it. I just found it and I'm like, oh, well, that's too bad. And then, well, glad I didn't find it earlier kind of feeling. Okay, so I'm just going to narrow this just a little bit, which I could have done with the black marker. I'm doing it now. We'll get a little bit in here. I think another one of my problems with the Joker is that he's not considerate of people. You know, he's not out to make friends or anything like that, but he's also not really I don't know, they're all kind of pawns to him in his little games with the Batman. Okay, so we'll let dry a little bit. We'll get a look at the face again. Actually, let's see if we can, no, we'll let that dry, and then I'll do the inside of the arms after, but I don't mind that so much. I'm going to add a little bit of blue here. Like I was saying about, so this is black paint, Sharpie, and I have a white paint one too that I set aside. As I said, I don't really care much for it, just because they don't dry as quick as I want them to. But I thought I'd take a moment just to show a couple of other little brushes. So like that one, which does fine detail as well. It's pretty good. This one is one that I use often enough. Let me see if I can get it out of here. It's another Artist Loft. This one's a, oops, if it'll, anyway, it's, I can't really show you the point of it. That's sort of what I was hoping to do. Anyway, this one here, and I think it's just because camera wants to focus on other things. Well, too bad, I guess. It is actually pretty good. I'll just bring it down a little lower anyway. So, yeah, no, this one is fantastic for detail. The one I'm using today is the one that I often will just pick up. Reasonably inexpensive. It can go to a fine point. And I do like it. It's called a Detailer number 1. For what I do with it anyway. That is almost dry. Let's look at the hair. I don't think I'm going to do anything else with that. Like, you know, I could probably put in some highlights of sorts with black paint. Let's see what that looks like on this. It's weird that minifigures don't have noses. That I find strange. But anyway, let's see what we can do here. Pop that off. See what this looks like. That's funny. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. It hides just enough of the original face, which was like a Ninjago guy. And well, that's our custom Joker face. Let's see if we can get our friend here to do the splits. Let's see if we get some of those other seams and whatnot. Then, ooh, took the paint off the back, didn't I? Yeah, a little bit. We can fix that because we still have the brush, but we'll not deal with that in a moment. Get in here. Some of this will disappear once I move it around again. That is all right. Again, this is a display figure. We'll get in here. Again, this is a display figure. This is not going out into someone's fantastic sandbox. I'm not against that though happening. Okay. That's funny. I really do need to let this dry a little bit before handling it as much as I have been. I do feel bad that I managed to get some of that paint off the back though. That is too bad. But I think the Prince of Crime can use a little bit of grime. And that's where the proper etching of sorts or light sanding that I could have done would have been helpful. I think I want the pants to kind of, the cuffs to go a little bit lower here. Yeah, that gives a nicer effect. I did it on that side just a little bit. Lower the arms just a little bit if I can. Then we'll do the shoulders. And then we'll let it dry. But not before we figure out one last thing, which would be the hands, and then we'll do the fine detail stuff after. So those are the hands of the Ninjago figure. Which by coincidence, they are the same color as the Joker's. But the trick with this is we're going to assume that the Joker wears, there we go, gloves. Let's see what we can do on the inside of this. I probably should have started on the inside. They're going to look a little lighter with that single coat. Now, I did not see the second Joker movie, so I don't really know. I don't have an opinion on it. I really thought when they made the first one that it was just going to be like a standalone kind of movie. So I'm not upset about anything. Do as you wish, folks. So that's one grubby little hand. Set that down. Actually, I probably should have, roll it over that way. We'll do this one. Do the inside at first if I can. So I'm trying to think if I'm going to put a flower on the lapel of the Joker. Because he was into, you know, having something that could, let's say, squirt acid or something wacky like that. Some kind of toxin that makes people smile funny with his kind of smile. That, for pinching's sake, is not easy to hold on to. Oh yeah, just drop it and... Okay. Now we'll revisit this. Gotta look at that. We'll just add a little bit on. I think it's just streaky enough to almost make it a pinstripe suit. Okay. We'll put this away. Next, let's see about some boots. We'll just give them some shoes. Now, if I were so crafty, I would have just left the Ninjago feet stay unsilvered. But because I mean, it's naturally black. But I wasn't thinking that far ahead that I want to differentiate. I kind of was going to go with just painting all purple. But I changed my mind, as I'm allowed to do. Let's see if I can get in here without getting to do the splits. That'll work. Because honestly enough, the more I move, the more likely I'm to knock paint off. I think it was a good decision to let the cuffs of his pants go on a bit of an angle like that. I don't mind the way that looks. Honestly enough. Next, we'll do the front of the shoe. And depending on how this looks at the end, the fun thing is hopefully I will have learned enough that, you know, maybe I'll do some other custom figures Yeah, I don't mind that. What I will do is I will probably add something there to the lapel, although I don't know what yet. The flower seems neat. It may not be the flower though. Put this paint away. Put the cover back on it anyway. Now, get out a bit more of this blue. And we'll finish the lower part of his vest a little bit. I've kept the legs and the body separated just enough so that I could kind of get inside just a little bit too. Then I'll have to check to see if there's like some clear fingernail polish around the house, or I might have some polyurethane or something like that that I can use to kind of like clear coat the thing when it's done and ready for display. I might have been better off getting a little bit of white paint actually. Let's see if we get rid of some of that. Because I kind of want that tie to stick out just a little bit more. Going for a blue tie. It should be lighter. And this will give me the opportunity to drop in something for whatever I'm going to put here. A flower or not. So we're just going to make a spot for the tie. Now in the Batman movie that has Jack Nicholson, it's a polka dot tie, so that much I did look up. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the polka dot detail that nice. I may or may not try it that way. And let's point that up in the air just a little bit. And we'll make room for some kind of flower. Okay. Let that dry just enough. I wonder if, let's see, because there's white paint already there, if that will allow a slight mixing so that I can get the tie kind of settled in. Then I'll let it dry. That's not that bad. By no means am I pressed for time here. Just put a little bit more blue in. Now, the final thing that I'll do for this video will be to, if I have something like a fuchsia, ooh, neon pink might work. Okay, put this cap back on. I want my paint to dry out. This might be a bit much, but that's the way we like it. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of detail. Inside of this flower that we're going to let dry. Huh. Okay. I do believe that that will be it for now. That is the fun of real-time silly stuff. I probably won't turn this into like the Joker's hat, the Ninjago piece. I'd probably have to do a lot of customizing to it. Like I could use like silicone or something like that to build up certain parts of it and then maybe flatten out the rest of it, but I don't know. We'll see. That could be like a future thing to do. But overall, I don't think I'm too disappointed with where that's going, and I think the finer detail stuff will probably come out all right for what I want it to be. So the last video will just be me using this, maybe touch up a few little bits of things with the paint, but for the most part, I think I don't want to put 15 hours into this. Right now we're looking at two 50-minute plus videos, so I think just because that's just kind of fun. Look, I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.